All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. So today, we're going to talk to you a little bit about the importance of ball position. One of the major components of our setup, one of the things that we control. It's not a moving thing. It's not something that's dynamic. It is a static thing that we can control within our golf swing. And today, we're going to explain how to control it to best suit your swing. Okay guys, so we really are following on from the video that we done several months back where we actually showed you the ideal ball position for every club in the bag, certainly for me, and that is part of this video. It is quite an individual thing, ball position. There are going to be variables that are unique to all of us. Our width of stance, even the course conditions that we play on are going to be a big impact and a driver towards where we move that golf ball position. But I think today in the video, as we progress and as we break it down as to the movement of the ball position relative to the stance, our standard stance, you'll see some of the things that maybe surprise you, that just simply moving the golf ball back or forward doesn't just move the golf ball up or down. It will also move it right and left as well via the start line. So let's look at it from this perspective. So we've used a measuring tape. We've laid out this sort of, long tape here. We've laid it out to about 3 feet. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk through really 5 different ball positions. The width of a golf ball being 1.68 inches or just under 43 millimeters. I think 5 different ball positions really covers us quite nicely. So if I take my stance relative to this center golf ball, okay, I would pretty much say, and you guys can see it from the face-on cam here, you can pretty much see that the furthest back golf ball, it's not off the back foot. The furthest forward golf ball, it's not all the way off the front foot, because we are still trying to retain good strike and impact characteristics. So I don't really want to create extremes of ball position where you're really off that front or back foot. Now, one variable with that might make it off your back foot or your front foot is going to be your width of stance. So if I was to, for example, and if I just kind of knock these out the way for just 1 second, and if I take that golf ball position, okay, and so we've got it relative to the 1 foot, the 12-inch mark, okay, if I had a pretty narrow stance, it would not be that difficult for me to play that golf ball up on my kind of left toe and still be able to hit a pretty functional golf shot. Just going to be higher, just going to be shorter, but maybe you're hitting it over an obstacle, a tree or something in front of you that requires you to add more dynamic loft. And the same thing, again, back to middle, if I've got a narrow stance, really wouldn't be that big of an issue moving it back in line with the sort of big toe on the trail foot. We saw a little bit of that, I'm time-stamping this video, but we just had the Bermuda Championship. Every single year, that one is incredibly windy, and you're seeing guys literally playing balls, off their back foot, and chipping 7 irons and 6 irons, 5 irons, 100 yards, 120 yards. That is where you might narrow the stance down and you might move the ball back in line with the sort of trail foot. But really, those are the circumstances, and the only circumstances where I'm going to get you to talk about moving the golf ball that far forward is if the stance really does narrow significantly. Okay, let's just create some baselines. Okay, I'm going to call baseline here, where this, again, 12-inch mark on my ruler here, I'm going to call that just forward of middle. Again, I'll move these out of the way so you guys can see in the face on camera. Now, I'm not saying, my golf swing by any means is a benchmark for anything. It really is not, but I do have fairly neutral conditions. I hit a little bit of a draw. My angle of attack is not super steep, but it's also not shallow either. And obviously I hit the ball a decent enough distance. So I think we can use my golf ball, my current position, to call that baseline. We're going to call that standard neutral. Not that that's in the middle of the stance. That's not what we mean. It just means that this is the position if I'm hitting a stock 7-iron shot, I'm going to play it from just slightly forward of the middle of the stance. Okay, so a pretty standard, just a kind of nice 7-iron. Nothing too crazy going on with the delivery. Yeah, pretty standard shot. 3.5 degrees downward in the angle of attack. We're a little bit into out. Ball is curving 4 degrees to the left. Absolutely what I would call for me just like a nice stock 7. So knowing that if I start moving this ball position around my stance, this is where the baseline is created. Okay, so when we're talking about ball position front and back, one of the most important things I want you guys to understand is that, if we call this, the middle or kind of this center neutral where the ball position is, the further back we go with the ball position or the further forward, it doesn't move in a straight line. It moves in an arc, okay? We've got this golf club traveling sort of on the downswing. We've got it traveling the club head or the sweet spot, however you want to think about it, traveling down, and it's actually traveling outward, okay? So it's traveling to the right. Now, as it travels further forward, it's going to get to the point where it gets to neutral, low point, and then it's going to start moving up and left. So that's where we've got to remember when we're moving the ball position forward or back, we're not, even though our golf swing, that is my golf swing, that is the DNA of my golf swing, ball position will change the DNA of my golf swing. So we were talking off camera earlier and Cody said, so if you've got a bit of a hook, moving the ball position further forward can alter a little bit that face to path relationship. Absolutely. And vice versa. One of the things I've always seen with people when they try and hit stinger shots or hit shots into the wind and all of a sudden the ball starts way out to the right and kind of curves back, it's because the golf club is traveling on this arc. We move that golf ball position, look in this front camera, move that ball position further forward, okay? So we've kind of got the arc that looks somewhat like this. So no longer is that path 2.6 degrees into out, probably moves 5 degrees into out. So let's demonstrate that. We're going to go back and we're going to talk about the ball positions in golf ball widths. We just said at the start of the video, 1.68 inches is the width of a golf ball. So we're going to say, okay, ball position, 1 ball position back, 2 golf ball positions back. So we're going in about 1.68 increments as we move the ball position forward and back. Okay. So let's go back first. Okay, so pop quiz before we get there as we change club. What's likely to happen when the ball position goes further back? What are we likely to get, right? We're likely to get a more rightward start line. We're likely to get less dynamic loft. We're likely to get more carry distance. We're likely to get a flatter angle of descent into the green. We're likely to get a lot of different things. And that's why I always say that just understand, or just thinking that by moving the ball 1 golf ball width back, that you're just changing the flight height, doesn't work like that, guys. It changes a whole host of things. So we're going to move that carry distance probably back to 170 case, just because obviously we expect that dynamic loft to go from 28 probably to come down, maybe even as little as 26-ish. Okay, so using the ruler here, great way to practice, guys. So I'm moving this not quite 2 inches back, not from 12 to 14 inches. I'm going to go to about what looks like just back of 13.5 inches on my ruler, okay? I'm still going to create where that 12-inch mark is. That's where standard neutral is. So now I've got a golf ball position that is back of center, okay? Much stronger looking position. Let's see what we get from the delivery of this one. Okay, now, not a bad shot, lovely strike. Path went from 2.6 into out to 3.8 into out. Angle of attack was, I think it was 3.6 in the last one, now 5.9. The only thing that I didn't quite get there, I didn't quite get the face angle relative to the path back to square. The face stayed a little bit open on me. So let's hit that one more time and get it curving back. Now, we did pick up a little bit of carry distance, but we will pick up a tad more when we get that face squared up appropriately. Okay, so a little bit more like it. I would expect more draw. First one was a bit of a block. That was better. Yeah, as we see, path goes about a degree more to the right. Dynamic loft, 28 in the first shot, 26 in the second shot. Good strike again. Picked up some carry yards, which is as expected. All pretty good stuff. Okay, let's go one more golf ball position back. Okay, so we started at 12 inches. We're now about 3.5 inches back. So we're going to be somewhere about here. And guys, really to me, this is about as for the width of stance I have, back to what we talked about earlier, this is about as extreme as I would move the ball back. I think at this point, if you're needing to move the ball further back, you've got the wrong club in your hands. You're trying to bring the flight down in a way that really you're probably getting out of that comfort zone with regards to where your strike zone is. I would just go ahead and grab a 6 iron and just play it in that ball 1 or ball 2 position back. Okay, but this is okay. This is fine as we are. 7 iron, ball position back ever so slightly. About 3.5 inches like we said. We get a little bit more of that compression. Quite a nice window that's come out of. Good. So if we just go to the compare page 1 second, I want us to take a little look at dynamically what's changing. All right, we can see the progression of the delivered loft. Okay, so we've got 28, we started with 28 degrees of loft. 1 ball position back, took about 2 degrees of loft away, just a little bit more than that, maybe 2.3. And then as we went back again, we took another 2.3. Quite interesting that as we move the golf ball in consistent increments, we change the loft in consistent increments. One of the reasons I love a setup station like that is because, we're not guessing at that point. We are starting to create some real consistency around what it is that we're doing. Let's look at the delivery on the path and the angle of attack. So we started off with 2.5 degrees into out, 3.5 degrees down. The 1 ball position back gave us 3.6 into out and 5.3 down. And then another ball position back gave us pretty much double the path that we started with my neutral ball position. 5.3 degrees into out and 6 degrees down. And that's why we obviously got a little bit more kind of that compression. Not only did we reduce dynamic loft by almost 5, we got a little bit more downward into that angle of attack as well. Move strike up, all good things that what we would want. Let's go to the ball data a second. What did the ball do in response? Not too much of a change in height, to be honest, because as we decrease dynamic loft, we create more ball speed. More ball speed creates more velocity. More velocity creates more upward trajectory of the golf ball. Even as the launch angle comes down, 3.5 degrees, it's still not that different between the lowest ball flight and the first ball flight. Again, because of that, because of the increased velocity. We picked up about a full club, 9 yards in carry. Started off at 166, ended up at 175. There was a little bit more speed went into it. I think that was me, to be honest. Subconsciously, the ball being a little further back, I have to work a little bit harder to square it up. You saw the first one I hit blocked out to the right. Very common for people when they move the ball position back if they don't quite work fast enough and rotate fast enough, it's quite easy to leave that out to the right-hand side. Okay, let's go the other way. Let's start moving the golf ball forward now. Okay, so I've kind of set the golf ball back to neutral position. I want to kind of reset my station here a little bit. Move the ball about 1.6 inches, 1.7 inches further forward. Okay, you can see that neutralizes the shaft position. There's not as much forward lean now. There's definitely going to be more delivered loft. So this is going to create a little bit more launch, probably more spin, and a little bit less speed. Yeah, I can really feel that lack of lean, lack of compression, a little bit more of a neutral shot. The path was still in to out, still managed to find its way there. Angle of attack changed quite considerably down to 1.2. So, really picking that a lot more off the top. So again, if we're kind of having a bit of a steep day, a bit of a day where the divots are a little bit on the thick side, ball position is going to change the interaction with the turf quite considerably. Okay, what do we lose in terms of carry distance? That's not too bad relative to the first shot we hit, but it was quicker club head speed. So the efficiency has dropped down to 1.32. I think it was 1.34, 1.35 with the very first shot we hit of the day. All right, let's move it in the extreme of 2 golf balls forward. Okay, so ball position, the furthest forward position that I would play this particular club, and you can see why there's really diminishing returns on sort of the amount of compression that I'm getting or lack of. I'm not taking a divot with that really at all. I'm delivering 33 degrees of loft. This club has 33 degrees of loft. So, I mean, in a perfect sense, I'm delivering the loft at impact as true as I possibly can without any lean. Interestingly, the path stayed really quite neutral to what I would do. It was exactly the same as the first one that I had. That just goes to show you that as humans, we're not robots. If this was a robot doing this test, this would be moving in perfect increments of, less into out, more into out. I'll always find a way of creating the shot shape that really, my mind's eye and my golf brain is looking for. I'm looking for something that moves ever so slightly right to left. So even that golf ball had 1.3 degrees of axis tilt to it. So it was moving ever so slightly to the left. Let's go to that compare page now. Let's take a look at what we've got across the board. Okay, so really cool the way, obviously, the illustration shows itself. You can see by the different colors of how we've tagged the golf balls. You can see one golf ball forward now sits just above the standard neutral. The 2 balls forward sits a little bit higher than that, and we really are raising peak height quite considerably. You can see launch angle changing, quite a lot with those forward golf ball positions, moving from 20 to 23 to 26, basically. The range of carry distance that I've got with this same 7-iron has went from 175 in its most sort of compressed impact position to 158 in the least compressed position. And you can see the range of shots, not only up and down, but there's a bit of a range from right to left as well. The more I move the golf ball further back, the more I get the golf ball to curve left. So if I'm trying to take out one half of the golf course, if I don't want to see it go, left, ball position forward, quite a nice thing. If I don't want to see it go right at all, ball position back will encourage me to get that golf ball to be a little bit more on the left-hand side. So really the illustration of this test was to show you guys the implications of moving that golf ball position further forward or further back and how you can use it to your benefit. Let's go to the club data. Okay, so a real variety of different deliveries as well. You'd never think this was the same player with the same club. We went from 6 degrees down to 0 angle of attack. We've really not changed that much. Like I said earlier, it tends to be that a player like myself who hits it right to left will always find a way to hit it a little bit more right to left. Dynamic loft changes were big, and obviously efficiency. The most efficient or the most ball speed we're going to get with the golf ball the furthest back. One golf ball back produces a little bit less, and then again, standard neutral produces less than that. As we move the golf ball one forward, we've got less than standard, and then as we move it two forward, we've got way less efficiency coming out of that one. Really cool to see and moving exactly as you would expect as we change golf ball position to create different shots. Cody said off camera, a second ago after we hit the last ball position forward sort of scenario, that pretty cool to see the shots that you can have available to you on the golf course. This is what that's all about. If you've got a really tucked pin, if we go to the table a second and let's look at some of the avenues, if we go to ball data, you can see that not only does it change peak height quite considerably, 30 feet between the lowest and the highest, it also changes angle of descent considerably, 53 degrees. So we've said a lot in the videos when it comes to golf ball spin and these types of things. It's not golf ball spin that stops a ball on the green. It will eventually, but if that angle of descent is too shallow, it will happen too late and you could very well be through the back of the green. But when you get the angle of descent into the kind of low 50s, that's when you're going to start to really use the weight of the golf ball and the angle that it comes into the green to stop it in its tracks. It's going to hit the green and really, really stop. And then you actually have more access to use the spin at that point. So really, really good to have those shots up your sleeve. Back pins, as we know, we don't certainly want to leave the ball too far, or too much in the front of the green. Bringing that golf ball flight down is really good for those back flags. And then when the pin is at the front, we want to access a slightly higher flight and be able to drop it in nice and steep. Just changes the proximity, gives you more options to sneak it closer to the pin. Okay guys, so hopefully this all makes a little bit more sense to you. And I think having everyone's got a measuring tape like this at home, I think this is a great way to set it up. It's a way that makes sense. It's a way for it to be consistent and a way for you to test out for your own game what is going to change in terms of the dynamic delivery. We know that, the golf club, as we said earlier, it moves in 3D space. It does not move in 2D space. And the movement of the golf club is ever changing as it moves forward and gets less down and less right. As that golf club travels, it gets more neutral and more left in the path. So I want to see what it does for your own delivery. Let us know in the comments below what you find with it. We talked about in a previous video, $25 to really get the most out of knowing exactly what's in your bag. This is another one. $25 spent will give you a really good idea when you move the golf ball either one or two balls back, one or two balls forward. What does that do to your delivery? Maybe you'll find the golf ball in a certain spot in your swing, you actually hit it more consistent. You actually start getting a little bit better sort of delivery characteristics, more like what you want. Who knows? But it'd be a fun test for you guys to try and come back and tell us and the rest of the community what it done for your game. That's what these videos are all about. Interactive sort of exchanges between us and then ultimately you back to us. Let us know how it works for you when you get into the bay. We'd love to hear it from you. All right, guys, lots more coming. We're into the winter season. Much more of this type of content coming indoors. Make sure you're subscribing to the channel. We'd love for you guys to follow along. Hopefully you enjoyed this because there's lots more coming your way. Stay tuned for more. We'll see you again soon.